In this video, we're going to talk about the major error people make when it comes to dealing with issues of lower back pain, injuries in this region, sciatica, and this one thing that really stops them recovering or massively reduces the overall prognosis. It's an easy error to make and it's an easy error to avoid if you do the right things. Now, before we get into it, this video is going to be direct. We're going to get straight to the point. It may ruffle a few feathers, but hopefully it speaks to you and gives you something to think about, maybe for yourself, or maybe someone you know that's been battling this, to avoid falling into this trap and really starting to take hold of your recovery and get things better, because there are things you can do. And just avoiding a few critical mistakes at choice times can really make the difference between a smooth recovery process and really falling into a chronic problem. We're going to kick this off by drawing your attention to an unavoidable truth, that an acute problem, an acute injury, a fresh injury, is something that is going to recover with a much better prognosis than if it's allowed to progress or regress to the point where it becomes chronic. And depending on what condition, what injury that is, that's going to be somewhere between 6, 8 or 12 weeks of having the problem. This becomes extremely relevant because as we've got an acute problem, it's fresh. We haven't quite adapted our body, the way in which we use ourselves. If we talk about a back problem, maybe it's sciatica down the one leg, we're not quite habitually limping yet. As we start to get into that chronic phase, we start to move, contort our body. It becomes a bit more ingrained. It becomes a bit more habitual, second nature. We're not thinking about these things. Other ways in which our body and our brain process the pain signals, the way in which painkillers will interact with our body and where we will respond to those sorts of things. All of these things start to change as we move into that chronic point. And there's one certainty, is that you're going in that direction unless you're doing something to solve the issue. And we really want to make sure you get this dealt with before it drips over into that chronic state. So with that in mind, time is of the essence and sensible action plans are vital, because you're not going to get away with doing nothing. So by the fact that you're watching this video, we're going to assume you're not in the emergency case. Yes, sometimes it's an emergency, but you wouldn't pull out your phone if you've got emergency back pain and start scrolling through YouTube. You'd be on the phone, you'd be in the emergency ward, and when it is an emergency, you're straight in getting the necessary procedures done there and then. It's quick, it's snappy, it's happening. You're not on the phone. Now, some of you guys, you will have been to the doctor, you will have been to the hospital, you've had some images, you've had some work, and they say, hey, go home, we're going to do something. Maybe it's a procedure, maybe it's a checkup, maybe it's imaging in 6 weeks, 12 weeks. With current scenarios happening, those appointments might be delayed, those appointments might be pushed back. You might even not get those appointments, but be told you need them. And that then puts you in the mental space of, well, I'm going to wait until I've had that appointment. And this is the error we're talking about. Now, it's understandable if you don't know 100% what you're dealing with. You know you've got back pain, but we don't know exactly what area is a problem, then it's okay to feel that way. But if there were specific guidances that you were given, let's use the example of, let's say you had a heart condition. The doctor might say, look, we've got this important procedure that we need to do. 9 times out of 10, you should probably be doing it there and then. If it's that important, it wouldn't be put off for 6 weeks, would it? But they might say, look, don't let your heart rate come above 120. So no exertional exercises that push your heart rate above 120 BPM. Or if it's a back problem or an ankle problem or knee problem, they might say, I don't want you going up and down stairs because that's too much for you. They give you specific instructions on the levels and sorts of activities that you are or are not allowed to do based on the information that they've got or their hypothesis. But most of the time that you're sent home, you're not giving any of those instructions, and we've just got an appointment in some undetermined time in the future, and you're left going, what should I do? And the mistake is just doing nothing and saying, I'm going to wait till that appointment, because you're not waiting, are you? Now, we're not really going to go into bed rest because that's just awful, and that's widely known that bed rest for extended periods is just a one-way trip in the wrong direction. So we're not going to cover that in this video. But 99% of people in this scenario will be mobile. You'll have been sent home and you'll just say, oh, well, I've got some painkillers in my hand, maybe I'm going to use those. That's scenario number one, and I'll just grin and bear it for the next couple of weeks and go to work, stay at home, do my normal activities, and do my best with painkillers. The other option might be that you say, I'm going to grin and bear it and I'm just going to kind of push along. But recognize you are doing things on a daily basis. You are getting up out of bed. You are going up and down the stairs. You are maybe making dinners in the evening, bending over the stove. You are lifting and moving your body on a daily basis. Why on earth would you not be using this time to do something sensible and do carefully constructed, purposeful, rehabilitative exercises that are there to support the back? Now, you can probably tell in this video that there's a little bit of passion coming through because it's such a frustration that people say this. But when you actually get to have this conversation in real life, the penny starts to drop, and hopefully it has been in this video. You're saying you don't want to do any careful exercises, but what are you specifically doing on a daily basis? Maybe you're sat on the sofa over there watching TV for hours on end every day. Well, that's absolutely no good for your back. You're stressing certain structures in your lumbar spine. Let me show you what I'm talking about. You're sat down like this, slumped into the chair for extended periods, stretching all these tissues, maybe some of them down here that actually we find out in the 8-week time, and maybe the 4 weeks after that while you're waiting for the results that you had a disc bulge down here. Well, you could have been doing something this last period of time rather than sitting on the chair, or rather than not learning how to get up and down out of a chair properly. These exercises are simple. For example, this one here on the screen right now, lying on the bed. You're just lying on the bed, engaging to your core, learning to engage your core. Chances are you probably couldn't do this beforehand or have lost the ability to do this effectively. It's so safe and gentle. Why not employ some of the time in this 6 to 8 weeks learning how to do this properly? Or for example, this, an activity that you're going to be doing every day, no matter who you are. Even if you're on your way to and from your relevant specialist, you're going to be getting up and down out of a chair. Learning the correct technique, how to squat properly, is important. Starting that today is an important thing that you should be doing, because you are going to be doing that. An incorrect technique there is going to damage your knees, or not damage, but it's going to be a problem for your knees, your ankles, your lower back. And learning to do it correctly is going to be a boon to the recovery, all the while helping prevent you, as that clock's slipping down, as that time is draining, moving towards that chronic stage of recovery rather than the acute stage that we maybe started in. And hey, if you were chronic when you first got the appointment booked in, you're just more chronic now, so those patterns are more ingrained, and that's difficult to get out of. The point of this video here is to hopefully just make you think again. Know that you can do it. You do have the capacity to do these things, but doing nothing is a decision, and doing nothing is a decision to allow time to continue to go along whilst invariably you're making things worse, you're at least not making things better, and in most cases you're continuing to do things that have contributed to the problem or prevented the problem recovering in the first place. Making that step, if you're nervous, if you're unsure, all the more reason to start doing something in an observed way, something that's put together in a sensible manner rather than trying to muddle through on your own. Something with guidance, something like the example you saw earlier that's simple, but you start with the basics, and you might be thinking, oh, well, that's too easy for me, I can do that anyway. Are you doing it right? Learning to do these things properly and then progressing through. And hey, it wouldn't be the first time that I've seen someone who's got an appointment in 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it may be, find they get to that time and they go, I've gotten myself better. They go into the appointment and say, hey doctor, hey specialist XYZ, I actually feel a lot better now. I've been doing some work at home, I've been making some real difference, and I've been thinking about the way I use my body on a daily basis. And actually I don't have the sciatica anymore, or it's dramatically reduced. And then they go, oh, well, that's fantastic. I'm so glad you've done that. Just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll continue to get better. And maybe we've got some additional information from this scan or this consultation, and we can further progress our recovery. And you've managed to avoid going from that acute phase into that chronic phase in such a certain manner. You've made a difference. The time we're in now, people are being forced to take greater care of their own health and well-being, and are recognizing that you can't necessarily rely on others to do the job for you. If there's one thing you can hopefully take away from this video, is have a firm, rational evaluation of your circumstances and what you can do to improve the outcome, to speed up the positive outcome, because there are lots of things and there's lots of support out there to help you do that as well, whether it's with your back or whether it's anything. It is time that generally we all took more care and agency over our own health and well-being and the recovery of that. So hopefully you did find this video helpful. I know it was a little bit direct at the start, but hopefully you understand now at least why it is so direct. The message needs to be direct. Hopefully it got you thinking. If you know someone else who's been struggling with their lower back, with their injury, maybe it's not back pain, but the message still stands, then share this video with them. If you did find it helpful, give us a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel and let us know. How long have you had to wait for an appointment before? Have you had to wait 6 weeks? Have you had yours pushed back? Have you even got the letter from the doctors about when your appointment is? Are you sat at home scratching your head going, I thought they were going to send me an appointment, but it's yet to arrive? Let us know, and as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you find this stuff helpful, so you know next time we release another video. See you then.